Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Call the meeting to order. The first thing we've got is our invocation, and it's kind of a special thing because Tim Sackett will do the invocation as he's done for over 16 years, and we think tonight might be roughly his 40th appearance before the Board of Supervisors to give the invocation.
But who's counting?
So as Supervisor Hanson said, he's de facto our board chaplain, and Tim, thank you for being with us again tonight. Could we all rise?
Thank you so much. I just don't think anybody loves you as much as I do. I think that's what the whole issue is. This is something occurred to me just it was late last week. In high school, I had a civics and social studies teacher named Mr. Morrison, and in 1976, when I was a junior, he encouraged me to do an essay. Well, there was an assignment to do an essay on government issues, which I had no interest in. I liked Mr. Morrison. I didn't like his study. And so in 1976, I did an essay of somebody that most of us had never heard of. His name was James Earl Carter. And I did an essay on this fairly unknown peanut farmer from Georgia, became governor and now wanted to be president. And when he entered hospice last week, I've just been checking news feeds constantly to see if one of my childhood heroes would be passing soon. Because we know all things pass away. Nothing here lasts forever. And like I said, if I would have paid attention to Mr. Morrison's class more, I might be on that side sitting with you than over here. And I find it interesting how the legacy of a lot of elected officials and highly known celebrities and stuff, and I'm so impressed with Mr. Carter's legacy beyond his presidency, and I've come to realize what a steward he was. And I think as government people, I think a lot of times you've been asked to solve a lot of people's problems, whether they're rich people or poor people or sideways people, people popping out of the woodwork, and there's always a request through this body to say, do something. Spend more money, raise more money, fix the budget. And I'm reminded of this stewardship thing. There was a time in Jesus' life, there's a story where a woman who didn't have a lot of means had a very expensive jar of perfume, and she broke the perfume open, and it was kind of a spiced oil and really fragrant, and she was anointing Jesus before his time of suffering. And disciples actually made a big fuss about this, that it would have been better off to sell that off and give money to the poor and be charitable with this. And Jesus' response is in Matthew 26:11, when he says that for you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. And that's been kind of the core of a lot of ministries over the ages and centuries, to say that it's not our job as a church, it's not your job as a government body to eliminate poverty, because Jesus says you can't. It's not about purchasing and selling and charitable. It's about stewardship. How do you do the best that you can with the resources that you have so that the least of us have as much opportunity as the most of us? And so you're providing opportunities. Nobody in our county should ever say, I never had the opportunity to get something, whether it's an education or a job or assistance. And that's, to me, that's how you do what you do, is you steward. You're not here just to raise and spend and tax and spend. You're here to distribute. You're here to steward over and watch over the people that have the most, and the people that have the least. And we in church ministry have always done the same thing. So there's not a lot of difference between what you do and what we do. And it's just wisdom that God provides. And for that, I'm going to pray today. Lord God in heaven, we ask for wisdom. We ask for the deep understanding of people's needs in each district in this county, throughout the region. I ask you to bless the people for the hard work, for the time, the effort, and the diligence they put in their district and beyond to listen and hear, to travel and meet so many people that have so many demands and requests. Some are worth their time and some are not worth their time. But they will go. I pray a blessing over them when they do go, when it may not be fruitful, but their stewardship, making the effort is the important thing. Being there as often as you can, with as much time as you can, that's what I believe God wants for you in this county board today. So we ask for a blessing. We ask for you to be able to receive the encouragement and the best of what we can offer as citizens, so that you can offer the best back to the citizens you represent. And for all that, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Jim, thank you for those inspiring words, and we look forward to welcoming you back many, many times. And now if the Board of Supervisors and the audience could join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a Zoom attendee tonight, therefore we don't have our electronic buttons out because the two things don't work together. But I'm just going to note for the record for Christie that we have 17 supervisors in their chairs. We have Bob Long on by Zoom, and Greg Telejohn has been excused. So if you'll record that, Christie, that's the roll call. Public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight? Any public comment? Public comment? Seeing no public comment, we'll move on to our consent agenda. I'd like to get a motion to move the consent agenda to the floor.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Supervisor Burning, second by Supervisor Carlson. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll just do the ayes and nays. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Are those opposed? Nay. Seeing none, it's adopted. Next item on the agenda is the presentations or recognitions. We're delighted to hear from Barb Kruger, who will talk about the 2022 activities of the St. Croix County Libraries. Ms. Kruger, and your colleague, please introduce her and welcome.
So Barb is not actually able to be with us tonight. I am Monica Lavold. I am the director of the New Richmond Public Library.
And I'm Tori Schoos, the director in Roberts.
And what we're going to do is we have a presentation we're going to share very quickly. We'll share the screen to kind of keep high level, just to talk a little bit about what the St. Croix County Libraries have done in 2022. Okay, here we go. I feel like I'm gonna move. There we go. There we go. Okay. So starting out with the best of what we've done in 2022, we're going to start with some pictures. You want to start?
So up in the left, you'll see the Somerset Public Library, and they paid off their $3.16 million building addition and renovation. And then we'll just kind of go clockwise. So they had a Paw Patrol party in Richmond.
Yeah.
I'll let you
That was us. That big picture, that crowd picture at the top, we had over 1,800 people. We actually had to have it out at the New Richmond Airport to hold the amount of people for one library program. If you know Paw Patrol, the show, we had 4 of the pups from Paw Patrol come out to see kids and drew people from as far away as Eau Claire and St. Cloud. So,
I took my son, it was crazy. It was awesome. And then, so in the right corner, we have Spring Valley Public Library, and they got a $5,000 donation from the Spring Valley Education Fund. And then the bottom left,
yep.
we also have Kevin Lovegreen. He's a local author for the Lucky Luke hunting and fishing series. He talked to kids in New Richmond. And then we also have, let's see, Somerset. They have a new 3D printer. So they had their first 3D printer workshop.
Very cool.
And kind of along those same lines, you have the pencil display at Hudson. That was a STEM project for them, a STEM challenge, I guess. And then the bottom right was a science sensory.
Science and Sensory Lab. Yep. Kind of just because I also like stats and data, I broke down some of the circulation. So this is actually total circ from all 11 libraries, and we are counting River Falls and Spring Valley as St. Croix County libraries, even though they count Pierce. Looking at all of that, total circulation of St. Croix County libraries is 767,502 items, which is pretty impressive. There's a lot of materials going in and out of these libraries. Libraries like to get outdoors. Libraries like to do crazy things. This Wild Libraries slide is just kind of an example of some of the things that we do that maybe you don't think of when you think of libraries. You can see different libraries getting out with a Touch a Truck program, inviting the snakes in. I do want to point out that middle one, Deer Park. Deer Park was, that's the smallest library in the, or it's the library in the smallest municipality in the entire state of Wisconsin, not just in St. Croix County or our system. And they were actually selected as one of the libraries to distribute free state park passes throughout. Any user can go to Deer Park and get a day pass to any Wisconsin state park. So that's a pretty cool program. We did a program this year called Library Love Stories, and we offered people the chance to give us feedback, make comments about libraries. You'll see a few quotes that we've shared, but I thought this one in particular highlighted the value of what libraries can bring to a community. All right.
Okay, so then these are some programs that we've had at the various libraries. You know, we're constantly thinking outside of the box, if you will, to bring different educational and entertainment to our patrons. So we have Spring Valley Library. They had mini golf, and they had an event at the recreation area. River Falls Public Library, they had a summer reading octopus all throughout their library. That was really neat to see. Pirates at Glenwood City, poolside book break from River Falls, and more farm story time in Baldwin. There's actually a baby
There's a baby lamb in the picture. You can't, I'm gonna move there. There's a baby lamb. They brought a live baby lamb into the library, which is amazing.
And we're also inspiring creativity. So Spring Valley Library had a new mural painted by the youth there in their community. Woodville had a bunch of people show up for their decorative ornament spikes. They loved that program and definitely wanted a repeat. And then we had cookie decorating at Roberts, which was a lot of fun for the families. And then this quote, so this is the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, which just basically, it's an early literacy initiative that focuses on creating strong readers at an early age. So it's pretty straightforward, you know, read 1,000 books before kindergarten. So these two little girls completed that.
And they did that through Baldwin, although there are a number of libraries in St. Croix County that do this program. More pictures going around. the top here, yeah, do you,
Yeah, you wanna, I can highlight some. So top
Jump in.
left is our senior coffees and cookies at Roberts. On Friday mornings, we have a devoted senior group that does not like to miss. They have roughly 15 people that show up every week, and if we're closed, they try to schedule it a different day of the week. So, and it's literally just getting them together. They met all throughout COVID.
yeah. I think the key there is libraries as social infrastructure. I think a lot of people think of us as just a place to get books, but we are offering so much more and being a place for people. So in this particular slide with all of these images, you'll see library as social infrastructure or a place, a safe space for people. So after senior coffee, the top middle is a snowman event that was held at Glenwood City. And then Somerset, the one with the books up in the corner, that is partnered with the Somerset High School. They have a Spartan book club. More 1,000 books before kindergarten. The bottom picture with the gentleman sitting there with all the leaves in front of him, that is Shinrin Yoku, also known as forest bathing. And we actually did have that event in New Richmond where we took people out into nature and had some meditation and really looked at kind of intentionality in nature. Back to Somerset, down again in the bottom with that orange table, they partnered with their police department to provide an event for National Night Out. And then down in the bottom left corner is the Hammond Cupcake Wars. So, this one's yours.
Yeah, so another way that we are bringing people together, we're making connections, and it's in person and virtually. So Spring Valley Adult Book Club, they increased from 12 to 33 participants just in this last year. And then you have Hudson, so they did a virtual interview with Santa. That was just one of their virtual programs. So their YouTube channel has 200 virtual programs with about 87,000 views. So people are, you know, even using the library from home, which I think is really cool. And then we have Woodville had a spooky story walk. Deer Park had a holiday craft story time. Glenwood City had a holiday party. Another story time at Woodville, and then Joyful Brass concert at Roberts.
This is another quote from the IFLS Library Love Stories that we did. Specifically, the Deer Park Library was called out in this quote as a hidden gem. And you can see a picture of a dinosaur discovery program that they did. And they actually did that program in 3 or 4 St. Croix County libraries. This is a picture of the Deer Park event. All right. Because I'm kind of a numbers girl and I get nerdy about my stats and I love it. So we kind of told you already the total circ was over 760,000. But in St. Croix County alone with these libraries, there were over 412,000 total library visits. We had close to 2,000 programs in 1 year between libraries. We circulated almost 250,000 digital materials, and that's on top of physical materials. And then physical items is just over 610,000. That's different than total circ. That is, when we say physical items, that's items owned by our libraries. And so what's really cool, of that 610, borrowed by St. Croix residents, so it's the St. Croix residents, 97% of St. Croix residents use a library from within the county. So what that says is that the libraries that you are helping to fund and support are serving their communities, and people are not having to go out of county or into other communities. We're able to provide them the service they need. So of that physical items borrowed by St. Croix County, 97% in county, which is pretty awesome. I'm very proud of that number. New materials.
Yeah. So we have some new materials that you can check out in case you didn't know. We have Roku streaming devices, snowshoes at several of the libraries. Ice skates, that was specifically from Spring Valley, and then Nintendo Switches and games. We have
Consoles.
3DSs,
Yeah.
all kinds.
All kinds of, so libraries aren't just books. I I wanted to highlight hotspots because this particular committee, you have helped fund 2 hotspots per library in the county. You have funded 22 hotspots. And just to give you an idea, the pink lines on this graph are the number of hotspots that are held at each library. The really high one is River Falls. River Falls did get a grant that gave them 35 hotspots. That's why they have so many. The rest of us do not have a grant. The blue line is actually the number of people as of last Friday afternoon snapshot that were still on a waiting list to check out one of those hotspots. So every single one of those are checked out, and all of the other people in that blue part of the bar graph are waiting. And to put that in perspective, there are 85 hotspots in the county, 22 of which are funded by this committee. There are currently 90 people waiting for a hotspot. So even with River Falls' massive amount that they got with their grant, we still have holds. So that's an incredible service that people in the county do still need. Yeah. And that's what we've got, but we'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has them.
Monica and Tori, thank you. That was an amazing presentation. Your enthusiasm is contagious.
Well, thank you.
And wow. And I know
progress.
next year you're going to get 4 more programs and break that 2,000 mark.
That's my goal.
I'm going to open it up to all the supervisors for comment or questions. I think you've answered all their questions, and thank you very much for a very fine presentation. Next item of business is our county administrator and his report.
Thank you. Let me jump to the financial report so we can look at more numbers. All right, so at this point in year, this report is reflecting just the very beginning of 2023. Really, as early as we are in the year, though, I'm still looking back at the fiscal year 2022 numbers to sort of see where we end up. If we scroll down a little bit and we look at the total revenues, so the total revenues that we've recorded for last year was $113,504,000. And what I want to do then is I want to compare that to what our total expenses were. So we'll scroll down. And the total expenses for the year was $109,992,000. Now these are unaudited yet, so there will be additional adjusting journal entries that the auditors find where they reclassify things and move things around. But right now it looks like we'll finish the year about $3.5 million in the black. That's actually fairly common of where we finish every year. And so we're right on target to where we've been historically. So that's the financial part of the report. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to talk about the finances that we have. There are 2 other things that I wanted to touch on, though, and that was the building project. If you look off to the south side of the building, you can see that we started that. So they have a fence up. They've been pouring the footings, foundation, starting to pour some of those walls now. There is a copy of the plans over on the side table. Bid pack 4 is out right now. So we're getting that final bid in. Should be in by the end of March. So we'll know where we are financially on the project. We'll have a really, really good idea of where it's going to end up then. But if you wanted to look at the building plans at all, they're right over there on the table for you to take a look at. You can ask Supervisor Counter any question you have on him. As chair of the subcommittee, he's our expert. And then the last item is the referendum. So that'll be on the April 4th ballot. The public safety referendum's asking for the 24 additional positions, all related to public safety. We do have basically an educational series set up where we have a website. We'll have 2 open houses here at the Government Center. We're going around basically making a speaking tour, trying to educate as many residents as we can. We have Facebook postings out there. So we're trying to hit every form of media that we can. There's a mailer going out directing them back to the county's website. That should be hitting mailboxes right around March 10th. So hopefully through these educational efforts, the voters are able to make an informed decision then on April 4th on the public safety referendum. That's all I have on my report for the month. If you have any questions, though, I'd be happy to answer them.
Seeing no questions, thank you, Mr. Administrator. And we'll turn to our first item of business, and that's a resolution amending the county board rules. I'll call on the chairman of the administration committee, Supervisor Cook, to bring that to the floor.
I move to approve.
Second.
Supervisor Burning seconded. Well, we're going to go pretty quickly tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Lisa.
I have a few corrections that I would like to make a motion to change.
Sure, share them with us if you'd like.
So on the computer page of 96, there is 4B, line 4 is a Y that can be erased because it's useless.
Is that grammatical? Is that or just a grammatical correction?
It may be a grammatical, there's,
That doesn't need a motion, I don't.
so I have 2 lines that we probably need to, sorry.
Are they all going to be sort of technical amendments like that?
No.
Well,
The one that's not technical is page 98, screen 98, under Administration Committee.
Can I raise a point of order, Mr. Chair?
yes.
Sorry, Supervisor Lynn. If we have a motion, like, what's included in the motion, or are these questions and then going to be followed by a motion?
I was going to just suggest, I was going to do this at the end of the process, but I'll do it at the beginning. With those things that are just grammatical like that, I would just suggest you get together with our corporate counsel and that we approve our corporate counsel to make any grammatical, typographical changes that are required. And so we don't probably need a formal amendment for that, but if we have a substantive amendment, we can make a substantive amendment now.
Are words that we would like removed?
That's a substantive amendment, sure.
So that's a go-ahead to,
So you just make a motion to delete the words you're about to reference.
okay, so I move that we remove the word under Administration Committee. It says may periodically recommend, and periodically is unmeasurable. And I would move that we remove the word periodically and just have may recommend.
Is there a second to that?
Screen 98.
If there's a second, we'll go to discussion. If there's not a second, okay, Supervisor Carlson second, so we'll have discussion. Any further comment? If not, we can vote on it. Those in favor say aye, those opposed say nay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, it's adopted. Next amendment?
I have one more. It's on screen 91, or 99, sorry. It's 21. It says oversees management of general. And I don't know what that means.
I can explain that.
We'll call on corporate counsel.
That means something?
It was a provision that was removed in another place, and that language did not get deleted, so that should be deleted from this document. So if
Okay.
someone can make a motion to delete that.
I
We-
move that we delete that.
Or we can just call that one of those technical amendments that
Okay,
you and the
perfect.
corporate counsel have agreed on. That is that, if that's okay with everybody, is a technical change that the corporate counsel will make with Supervisor Lind?
I believe it's a major change of a body part of the document. It needs, I would ask Corp Counsel if she can make a ruling on whether or not we need a motion.
Obviously, I would prefer a motion, then it's clear.
Let's have a motion. So Lisa, do you want to repeat precisely your motion?
I move that we remove the words oversees management of general from line 21 on.
Do we have a second? Second by Supervisor Burning. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Amendments adopted. Are there any other amendments? As I said, any technical amendments, like, they're just purely grammatical, I think we can authorize the corporate counsel. We did this at the admin committee as well, as we moved it to the full board to make those changes, just to keep up to date, so we don't have to have repeated micro amendments to the rules. Okay, if discussion is over, we'll vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion's adopted, resolution's adopted. I just want to add at this point, thank you to the chair of the admin committee for her work on it, and Bob Long did a lot of work on this, but the real heavy-duty work on this was done by our corporate counsel. She's been working on this for 8 months, and she's put in a lot of work. I mean, I'd say 7 or 8 drafts, and she's consulted with many people. I know Supervisor Counter had some very good ideas that he presented at the admin committee, and we came out of that unanimously, and so thank you for a lot of great work by a lot of good people. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to support St. Croix County Community Development. I'll call Supervisor Hanson to make that motion.
All right, I move that we approve the targeted runoff management grant.
Supervisor Burning seconds. Discussion.
This is a grant that our match is in kind. So it's a grant for $451,000 for targeted runoff management in the Willow River watershed, specifically in South Fork, Black Brook, and the Paperjack Creek sub-watersheds. It's really good. It's going to help us add 1 FTE to our staff, and it gives us flexibility to work with farmers and help with the adding the, Ellen's not here, the projects that they do to help with the watershed. What do we call it? When we help farmers do projects, what's the word for that?
Land management practices.
Thank you. Best management practices. I don't know why that escaped me. All right, so I'd ask you to vote for this. Thank you.
Second to the resolution? I'm sorry, who was it again? The second? Oh, Supervisor Burning, I'm sorry, I was just one behind. Okay, discussion on the motion. Right, no, I don't, I'm just looking around to see. It's a little hard to look left and right here. Seeing no hands in the air, we'll be prepared to vote. Signify by saying aye if you support it, nay if you don't. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Resolution's adopted. Item number 3 on the agenda is resolution amending the Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook. Again, I think we'll call on Supervisor Cook from the Administration Committee to bring that motion to the floor if she'd like.
Yep, I'll move to approve the resolution amending Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook.
Second.
I was like, there was a pause.
Discussion.
Essentially, this is a personnel policy change updating the PTO donation policy. So.
See no more discussion, we'll call for the ayes and nays. If you support it, say aye, and oppose it, nay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. All those opposed say nay. There are no nays. It's unanimously adopted. Fourth item in the agenda. Honestly, I'm not sure who to call on exactly here. If I should call on the county administrator or the corporate counsel. But somebody should bring it to the floor.
I will move to approve the resolution authorizing St. Croix County to enter into the settlement agreements with Teva Pharmaceutical Industries, Ltd., Allergen Finance, LLC, Walgreen Co., Walmart, CVS Health Corporation, and CVS Pharmacy regarding the settlement as indicated in our packet.
And second?
Second.
I'll recognize Supervisor Lynn for the second. Discussion. This is a very good news item. Means a lot of money for the county. Any discussion on that? No. Well, I can, did somebody ask? Oh, Supervisor Counter, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Supervisor Counter.
After looking over there was some changes that were made that were approved by the administration committee after the meeting, but a lot of it is, all the first funds from this are first going to be held in a special account for attorney proceedings until at such point we get 20% of the funds, if I understood everything right. Once we've hit the 20%, which will probably be it for sure the first year, possibly into the second year, then the funds, they start to become where they can be allocated for purposes that we'd be using them for.
Corporate counsel, care to add to that?
Yes, I can try to explain that. So typically what happens is we'll receive all the settlement proceeds. The attorney's fees are 25%. They take that right off the top of all of the proceeds, and then 70% goes to the counties, 30% to the state. Administrator Whip may be able to speak in details about how that happened this last go-round, but that's how it is supposed to happen. But Supervisor Counter is correct that if we only received a little amount, there would have to be placed in an attorney fees account to pay the attorneys that are representing all the counties in the state of Wisconsin. But from what I understand in the past, usually the funds just come all at once, and then the attorney's fees come off the top.
Administrator, care to add to that?
Yeah, I think the one important part of this is we're just one tiny county out of this bigger group in the settlement. So whatever terms they've dictated are the terms that we're subject to. So this resolution authorizes me to sign the document so we get money, and that's the bottom line.
And if I could also add, just using very round numbers, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but we've had 2 settlements now with the over opioids, one with the distributors, now one with the retailers. The first one was a very large one. It was about $27 billion nationally. This one was about $23 billion. So we've received roughly $50 billion has been agreed to by the defendants in this case to pay out to states and municipalities, local government. There's one more group, the distributors, who still have not settled, and ongoing negotiations with them about that. So last year we received the first tranche of money relative to the, I'm sorry, I said distributors. I meant the manufacturers hadn't settled, but so we got from the distributors, and we allocated that over 18 years for personnel issues here in the county. And so those issues again will come up as to how we allocate it at some point after we have the money. So we're not making any vote on how we're using it. We're just authorizing the administrator to engage in the negotiations. Okay, all those in favor, any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. No nays, unanimously adopted. So we'll move to, that concludes our business, and we'll move to our annual reports. The first annual report will be by the administrator, Ken Witt.
I have the report in the packet. Lots of big things that the county is working on and continues to work on. I went over some of those at the beginning of the meeting under my monthly report. But if you do have any questions on the annual report, I'd be happy to answer them. You guys see me every month, so.
Any questions for the administrator? Seeing none, we'll go to our next report, Corporate Counsel.
My report is also in the packet. It goes over the goals that we completed in 2022 and what we're working on in 2023. Obviously, we had a lot of personnel changes in the Corporation Counsel office, with me taking over as Corp Counsel in February, hiring a new attorney in April, and a new legal assistant in April of this last year. So there's been a lot of training, and everybody's just getting their feet wet and learning how to do all the various cases that we handle in our office. So there are some specific numbers that we put in our report, but if anybody has any questions, I can answer them.
Questions for the Corporate Counsel? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry. Seeing none, thank you, Heather, very much for both of your work over the last year and again your work on the bylaws, or the rules for the county. Next item of business will be the annual report on finance, and we've got a new report from a new person to report. We've always heard from Ken or his successor, but we have Dustin Hawkins with us today, our new finance director. Welcome, Dustin.
Hi, thank you for having me. Again, the report's in the packets. Just a few things to point out, I guess, would be Obviously, we had a large increase in the investment accounts. That's for the 80 million for the funding for the remodel and the expansion. We're managing that with our partner Ehlers. They're way better at that than us, obviously. That's what they specialize in. And also kind of our goals for next year, trying to reduce and improve our efficiency in the accounts payable. We're trying to get a lot more of our vendors on ACH payments rather than printing and mailing checks, just to kind of reduce that contact points. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer them for you.
Any questions for our finance director? Seeing none, again, that was a quick, easy report, Dustin. Thank you and welcome again.
Painless, thank you.
You bet. Our final report of the night is our annual report from Human Resources, and we'll call on Audrey Haycraft for that.
Yeah, just to go over a couple things. We were a little short-staffed most of the year last year. I think down 3 people in a department of 5, but we did manage to achieve some goals and objectives throughout the year, some pretty significant ones at that. And we have some good goals coming up for 2023. We hired 2 new employees who are, I consider, pretty excellent rock stars to the HR department. So we have good plans coming up. Any questions on the report?
Questions for our Human Resources Director? Seeing none, thank you, Audrey, very much, and appreciate it. Next item of business is our request for future agenda items. I don't see any requests at this time. Of course, you can make them for the next 3 weeks or so and get them in on time to Chairman Long. Next item of business is the county clerk's report on announcements, on correspondence. No report to be made there. On announcements, I'm just going to make, are there any announcements anybody would like to make? Kara. Oh, sorry. Supervisor.
We got to slow us down a little bit right there. I just wanted to mention that St. Croix EDC held its Business of the Year awards dinner earlier in February here. And I want to recognize the 3 businesses that won. So the Emerging Business of the Year, Keystone Medical Technologies from the town of Somerset. St. Croix Valley Foods, which was in the town of Hudson, now moving to the city as the Small Business of the Year, and Isometric Micromolding from the city of Richmond. So congrats to those, and thanks for being in St. Croix County.
Thank you. They were very impressive. Very, very impressive. I've got just a couple of announcements. One, Supervisor Osnes, Telejohn, and myself, and Bob Rohr attended the Wisconsin Counties Association Legislative Conference last week. I thought it was an outstanding conference. I think I've talked with everybody since then, and I think we all kind of thought there were some great presentations. The governor was there, the legislative leadership was there. We've got a wonderful legislative team at the WCA, and I just think they did a great job. And there were many, many presentations given. Anybody care to add anything to that, or I'm just making that as an announcement of what we did. I know we don't have discussion and debate because not much to debate on that, but that's just the announcement. The other thing I'd like to bring to everybody's attention is that a kind of a joint thing between Public Protection Committee and the Health and Human Services Board, and obviously our Health and Human Services Department. We're going to be holding a symposium that's a follow-on on the mental health series we're hosting. It was the first one we did last year. We focused on suicide. This year we're going to focus on alcoholism. It's a huge problem in Wisconsin. It's a doubly huge problem in St. Croix County. The date for that is May 17th. It's going to be in New Richmond at the Technical College at 5:30. We're going to have a joint meeting, I believe, of the HHS Board, the Public Protection Committee, and I believe the ADRC at that meeting. And would welcome everybody to attend and bring colleagues or suggest people join you if you think they would benefit from attending that program. So that would be May 17th in New Richmond at 5:30. It's a 2-hour program. Hopefully we'll have some very good speakers and good information to put out at that time. Are there any other announcements to make? Boy, we're going to get done at 5:45 tonight. With that, we'll adjourn the meeting. It's now 5:45. Thank you all for being here.